Hi everybody, this is TJ with netpicks.com and the 7 Summits Trader, and I'm here today with Larry Bonetti, a 7 Summits Trader member. Larry has been in our trade room for several months now and has agreed to share his experiences with this interview. So let me welcome Larry. Before we begin, I just want to mention that this is April, and April is a very special month for me. It's actually my 3rd year anniversary calling live trades for NetPicks. It's been an amazing experience. I've learned a lot. And it's also the 1-year anniversary of actually going live with the SST with one of our model trade plans and markets, the Russell E-mini. So it's been really great so far. Larry has been in the room and enjoyed some of the success that we've had with the Russell. And with that, I want to introduce Larry and say hello. Larry?
Well, congratulations on your anniversary, and hopefully the success will continue.
Yeah, I should hope so. It's been 3 good years, and I see no reason why it won't. Today was another great positive session. So, Larry, I saw you in the trade room today. How did it end up for you today?
It ended up positive. I was kind of nervous with the holiday weekend coming up to dabble too much, so I went real easy today and just took a little bit of profit and got out of there.
Yeah, that sounds good, and we actually talk about that a lot. Sometimes it's wise to lower your expectations. I was a little trepidatious myself, and trading wasn't as smooth as usual, but it just goes to show you stick with your well-tested trade plan, and good things typically happen. So, Larry, where are you trading? Where do you actually live?
I'm in Seminole, Florida, which is right between Clearwater and St. Petersburg.
That's amazing. It sounds like you're in the next room. Modern day technology just never ceases to amaze me on a day-to-day basis. So what do you do for a living?
Right now I am a full-time trader.
Full-time trader. And before trading, what were you doing?
I was in TV for about 15 years and then became a financial advisor, and I just noticed it was hard for me to deal with other people who didn't understand that there are times the market goes south and there are times the market has good times. So I had an accident where for health reasons I had to stop working and kind of reinvent myself, and I got attracted to trading.
Well, that's quite a story, and it's amazing how a financial planner would actually end up becoming a trader also, because financial planning, whenever I think of that, I think of real safe, conservative thoughts about investing and what to do with your resources and your money, whereas trading is a completely different mindset. It's a total animal altogether. Most financial advisors don't recommend trading to their clients.
I think that's why it was tough for me, because a lot of my clients, when things were going bad, they wanted to go into fixed accounts and very safe, and then of course when the market was taking off, they wanted to turn around. They do the opposite of what you could. They wanted to buy high and sell low, and it was just hard for me to deal with people like that, and I think I am a little more aggressive, so this just seemed right for me.
Yeah, that's funny you should say that, because that's typical herd mentality, and we see that so often just with the charts that we trade each and every day. And a lot of times it's the counterintuitive decision is the right decision. So, Larry, when you started trading, tell us a little bit about that. What did you begin trading, and what thought process did you go through in making that decision?
Well, I had heard a lot about the Forex market, so I did some research in that, and I got started there. When I came to SST, I actually was looking to trade Forex until I started doing my back testing and seeing what you guys were doing, and through me doing a little legwork and research and seeing what went on in the trading room, I just decided Forex wasn't for me and ended up going into the future side.
So a bit of a some trial and error and some exploratory trading, if you will, until you actually settled in on the market that made the most sense for you in your particular situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of traders struggle with that. I mean, with futures, you have to have a certain amount of capital to be able to safely trade it. And with Forex, you can go in with much smaller capital. You can actually put on smaller positions, but there's a seductiveness to putting on the big risk positions because most Forex brokers allow you to leverage way more than you should. How did you avoid or deal with that?
I think one thing that helped was when the government stepped in and made it where you couldn't go higher than 50 to 1, where when I started it was the 200 to 1. And just after getting burned a few times, you decide to pull back a little bit and experiment with other things to try not to take those big losses.
Yeah, I mean, it's even 50 to 1, I think, is way more than what traders should put on. And I know there's a lot of traders out there trying to hit the home run trade every time, but even the winningest systems are going to give you some losses. And if you're over leveraged, you end up getting knocked out of the market without any capital to trade right at the moment when the winning streak's about ready to begin.
Exactly, and that's something I'm still dealing with and learning, being new to this, is you hit a few good trades in the morning and you just feel like you're invincible, and then all of a sudden you get wiped out in one bad trade, and your whole morning was wasted just because you didn't take what was there and run.
Yeah, exactly. And I always like to think in terms of each trade, how it fits into a greater context of my overall trade plan, my trade business in general. Knowing that there will be some losses, you have to kind of figure out a way to deal with it. And, of course, the amount of leverage the amount of leverage that you decide to put on or choose to control, I think, makes all the difference. Larry, let me ask you this. I know that you said that you went from Forex to futures, and I'm assuming that has to do with the amount of time maybe that you had to invest in your trading. Forex maybe requiring more time and futures maybe less time. Did that come into play with the decision?
Well, actually, the UTA came into more play with that, where I felt like, looking at apples and apples, with the same $100, I had more of a chance of doing well with a futures account than I saw with the Forex account as far as the results the UTA was showing me.
Oh, that's interesting. And the UTA, for those of you who are listening and don't know what that is, it's a tool that we use to analyze our trades. It's called the Ultimate Trade Analyzer. It's a spreadsheet that's been programmed that gives us a real close look at our trade data. We call it the UTA for short, and Larry's putting a smile on my face because he's listening to everything I've been teaching in the trade room about building a foundation for your trading prior to actually trading live money. And when he talks about what the UTA showed him, that's what he's referring to is some of his research. He also mentioned a word called backtesting, and backtesting also it's a part of that foundation building. A lot of traders don't do that. I would say most don't. But Larry, before we get into that, I wanted just to kind of stay on topic here with just the time involved. You were a financial planner. You had this business. You went through some life changes, decided to start trading. I'm kind of curious, how much time do you find yourself investing in your trading on a daily basis?
The trading itself, I would say 2 to 3 hours a day, but it's really the work that we were just discussing that takes more of the time.
So when you put in the additional work that you do, your research, your foundation building, your back testing, all the other training that you do, and you put that into your average time investment, what would you say your daily time is that you're spending?
For me, it's a little different just because, like I mentioned earlier, I have some health issues, and I can only sit for a certain amount of time. It has a lot to do with my back. I have nerve damage. And I would say on a good day, I like to put in anywhere between 4 to 6 hours. That's what my body allows me, and that's what I find. You trade for 3 hours, then you do research for 3 hours, and to me, that's a good balanced day.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much semi-full time then. In other words, it's not just your get-rich-quick scheme like so many people market. They make it so seductive selling the dream, but they don't actually sell the reality of what it is to be a trader. That's kind of why I wanted to stay on point with this time investment thing.
Right. You hear a lot of people say 15 minutes a day, and with 15 minutes a day, I just don't find that realistic. I mean, go play the lottery if you want to spend 15 minutes a day to try and take a chance on something.
Yeah, I hear you. So speaking of which, playing the lottery, a lot of people think trading is gambling. Do you find it to be so, or do you have a different take? And I want you to kind of put on your investment, your financial advisor cap and answer that question.
I mean, if you're doing the work and like we mentioned, the UTA, well, it's going to give you percentages of your chances to win a trade or be on the right side of a trade. And as long as you know the odds are on your side, I don't see how that's gambling. Now, if you're just going and blindly picking trades and not knowing why you're getting into a trade or why you're setting a stop or where your target should be, then yeah, you're gambling. You're just taking a chance because you're blindly throwing money at something.
Right, or putting on that 50-to-1 leverage.
Right, exactly. Just because you're getting 50-to-1, so you think, oh, well, all I have to do is, get a few pips and I'm in the profit. Well, you're giving up a few pips to start with, so, you're in the hole before you even get started.
Yeah, and then if that trade goes south on you, and that's one of the few losing trades out of all the winning trades you've identified with your research, I hear you. That's a good point. So how much did you find yourself investing in training or education? What was the whole process that you went through, and what did it cost you? How much time did you spend?
Well, if you're in the room with me right now, you'd see a library full of books that I've read and done some research there, and then started learning about candlesticks, and that got me into websites where people were sending me emails, with one product after another, and I got involved with a couple of them to give it a try, and really didn't like what I was seeing out there, so I just kept reading on my own. But I'd say I've been studying and trying to learn how to become a trader for about 1.5 to 2 years now.
And would you mind sharing with us how much you estimate that you've spent on training in general?
Oh, I'd guess between $5,000 and $7,000.
5,000 and 7,000. Yeah, it seems to be the average that we have learned over the years too, that most people are investing. So when did you actually discover NetPicks?
I believe it was either October or November of 2010.
Okay, so just after the SST was released in August, pretty much.
Yes.
So you probably came in as maybe on the second or third round of the SST.
Exactly.
Would you say the SST was a good value?
Oh, definitely.
What about the pricing? Do you think it was overpriced,
honestly,
underpriced?
No, I was honestly, when I saw how you do it, where it wasn't like some of these others where they record it and they could cherry pick their good trades. When I saw you guys, you were doing it live, which really impressed me because I was able to take a look at my Forex charts at the time and watch along with you. And seeing it live just made such a big difference in my mind. So when the price was put out there, I was pleasantly surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's one of the things that attracted me to NetPicks early on, too. I'm not sure if you know this, but I actually came on board with NetPicks as a member buying one of their trade systems way back years ago, way before I actually became a coach and a system developer for NetPicks and a live host.
There's still hope for me then, huh?
Yeah, there is. So let's see. You started using the SST, I think you said, in October, November?
I believe it came out. I think I heard about it in October, and we started in November.
And so is there anything else that motivated you to take a chance with the SST, apart from us showing it live? I know that there was a lot to choose from. There's always someone out there selling something. Is there anything else that drew you to the SST?
Well, seeing how simple it was. I mean, for people who are trading now or have a little bit of a background, you kind of see with the overbought, oversold indicators and some of the other indicators that I was used to using already. It wasn't like I was looking at this foreign language. And so it just seemed to be something that was going to be easy to catch on to and easy to use. As well as, when you see people in live training rooms making money and using the product successfully, it just seemed like a no-brainer to me.
Great. So that's what it seemed like to you, and that's what was part of your motivation. So now that you've had the SST for quite some time, tell us a little bit about your real life experience with it. Did it live up to those expectations?
The system definitely works. It's a matter of having the right discipline to go along with it. I mean, there's nothing out there that's going to be magical and just do all the work for you. And, you know, I'll admit I'm still struggling with some of the disciplines that I need to have, but I can't blame any time I have a loss on the SST because the system, I just see from all the back testing I've done, it works.
Great. And now that you mentioned back testing, it kind of leads me to my next round of questions. What kind of foundational work, this is kind of a two-part question, have you done? You did mention back testing. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that and then segue into what you would recommend to others.
I went back, I started with the Forex and went back to September and just would go through trades from back in September and move forward, you know, up until at that time November to see where the successes and failures were with the time periods that we were that you guys recommended that we traded those. And then I ended up signing up for a trade station and seeing some of the futures. So I started back testing the Russell and crude and some other things. And that's when I learned that was more of a niche that was better for my personality, and just became more attracted to it and saw the successes that the system had there and still has. I would recommend to anybody getting involved with this, number one, don't be in such a hurry to use your own money. Do this simulated trading like the coaches recommend. Do all of the work that they recommend. It's a lot of work and it's tedious, and sometimes, you know, like I had said to you before, you know, isn't there somewhere where I could just buy some of this back testing instead of doing it? Well, when I did it, I learned a lot of different things, like, for instance, the Swiss franc. I know I had told you I don't trade that on Wednesdays just because of the back testing showed me Wednesdays were losing days. And when I mentioned that, one of the other coaches, Bob, said, well, you know, I took a look at that, and I also saw that volume was low on those days, which kind of backed up what I felt already. And without me doing that work, if someone just handed it to me and I didn't see all of that, then I would have missed out on that and probably got caught in more bad trades than I should have.
Oh, that's great. So that's a real-life story of a success story of your tedious hard work using a tool like the UTA paying off for you and helping you make better trade decisions in general.
Right, and I'd like to go even further with it, which I haven't yet, because, you know, it takes time to do all these things, and that's something else I'd recommend everybody is patience. And I think I overdid it, picking too many markets. I'd focus on one or two markets to start with, and, you know, you're here in the trade room, all these other markets, and you get excited about them, and you want to do everything, but you just can't do everything, and focus on one or two. And I'd like to go back and take a look at other things I used to do, like support and resistance, maybe, you know, pennants and flags, and see if I were to use this system along with those to get me into trades, would it even give me a higher percentage, or would I be wasting my time looking for those things? So that's just more work that I see I need to do with the UTA.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're deciding to actually research that out as opposed to just jumping in and being cavalier and just applying some changes without testing at first. I think that's pretty wise. There's always room for improvement, you would think, but sometimes you got something and if it works already, you got to be careful if it's not broken, you know, you try to fix it and you end up making something that's not as good.
Right.
On the other hand, you might discover something that actually does improve the results too, and you can't undersell that aspect of it, and so it just comes back down to doing the tedious work again. But I mean, if we had more money than time, we wouldn't be having this interview. It seems like we have more time than money, which is why we're doing this and why we're trading in the first place. And if you can make your time pay off, I'm always one to encourage someone to do that.
I agree.
So You would say that you've improved as a trader then from when you started till now?
Oh, definitely. Anybody out there knows the pitfalls, and what I found is learning from my mistakes. Um, and you preach routines, and that's something I've gotten into in the morning, where I have a lot of these quotes either from the trading room or from just things that have motivated me in life above my desk, and every day try and look at one of those and get into the right frame of mind before trading, and go make sure I know when news events are coming out, and get into my routines, and that has helped also.
Yeah, that's important to me too. I mean, I get out of bed the same way. I stumble down the hallway the same way. I make the coffee the same. I do everything the same way. And when I start my trading, I just, it's almost like autopilot now because my routine has just become such a habit. I think that helps in staying disciplined.
Yes, that's what I have found is, then when you're looking at the charts and all you're doing it the same way as the day before and the day before that, and it takes some of the fear out of it. And there is a lot of fear in trading. It's your money out there, and that's one of the pitfalls is, you've said it many times, people looking at the tree instead of the forest. And if you have that routine and it just seems to be something you do day after day after day, it will take some of that fear away.
I totally agree. We always say scared money is lost money. And most people are afraid of the outcome of the trade, mainly because they haven't put it in context to their bigger trade plan and how it fits into their overall trade business.
Right.
So what could you tell us a little bit about your personal goals and what you hope to achieve from your trading in general?
Well, and again, from my mistakes, I've learned to scale back. I mean, everybody, looks at getting rich overnight and oh, this is such a great thing, I'll triple, quadruple my money in, just a few months. Well, the reality is you got to look at this as a business. It is your business, and set a goal for what you want to make every day. And I've decided to scale way back and start small. And if I could just, pull in $350 to $500 a day, that's a nice living. And then once I hit those goals, then I could worry about the $750 to $1,000 or $2,000. So I feel without having the monetary goals, I was lost out there. Just, I'd be up 750, and like I said earlier, one trade wipes all that out. You wiped out all your work you did that day, and then all of a sudden you're chasing now, and you end up 1,000 down, 2,000 down, and you just ruined your day when you had a nice profit to start with. So I've scaled way back, and I'm happy with small gains every day and just, one step at a time.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. We have a thing called the power of quitting, which is a way of hitting some dynamic goals, taking what the market wants to give us. And are you finding that that's working for you as well?
Yes, it is, and I guess part of my problem with that was, okay, we had such a nice run in crude oil for a while. We were hitting our power of quitting in 15 minutes. And then we'd move on to another market, and I'd look for my power of quitting, and then another market. And I was overextending myself and getting involved in too many markets, I believe, for someone starting out. And that's something else I'd recommend to people. Even though you're going to hear this in the trading room, so many successes in different markets, pick one or two and just focus on those until you get the ball rolling, and then you can worry about adding more. Because, learn from my mistake. I hurt myself, but I'd have my successes, my power of quitting in the first two, and then I'd go on to the next two, which would just devastate me. So I think, Coach Will says a lot about, don't be a minimalist trader. Don't try and, be everything.
Yeah, I agree. There's a fine line between too much risk exposure and not enough. And the thing is you can't make money in either situation. You've got to have a certain amount of risk to make money. But when you cross that line and you have too much risk, you end up losing also. So it is a fine line, and we try to keep things dynamic, as you know, with the trade system being dynamic, but also our quitting and our goal setting being dynamic as well. And I think it's a really good point you make. I like to call it a rite of passage. And I actually go so far as to write that into my overall trade business plan, right? I make myself achieve a certain set of goals. I have to hit certain milestones before I've given myself the rite of passage to add another market, for example. or to, yeah.
And that reminds me of something that I know when people go through this training, we're told to build business plans, and you get lost in that because it's hard to build something when you don't know all of the ropes yet. And that was something that UTA really helped me with, a lot of light bulb moments in building my business plan, where all of a sudden things started making sense and I was able to actually put a plan in that made sense to me. Where before doing the UTA and doing the work, it was words on paper that really didn't mean as much.
Yeah, that's really true. You have to psychologically take ownership. You could talk yourself into it. Oh, TJ and Larry says do it this way, and if I do it that way too, I'll have the same success. Doesn't work like that.
No, not at all.
You got to believe in it in order to be able to trade it, and you can't believe in it if you don't do the foundational work first. It's
exactly
lost on so many people. So, Larry, this has been great. I really want to thank you for your time. Let me just ask you a few more questions, then we'll wrap this up. Just specifically, if you can tell us what your overall experience with NetPicks and the SST has been.
It's been great. I mean, when I decided to become a trader, I decided, you have to be willing to do everything. And anytime you guys come out with training, I sign up for it and try and get involved and learn more. And even when I get into some of these classes that seem, most of the time I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is repeat. And all of a sudden something is said that made that whole training experience worthwhile, that just took me to another level. So I think people have to be willing. If you want to be a trader, then you need to take advantage of everything that NetPicks puts out there, because I haven't had one bad experience with any of the training that you guys have put out there yet.
Oh, that's great. Well, that makes it all worth it for me. I love to hear that. So you've been in the live trade room for a while. You've already told us how valuable an experience it's been, how much you like it. You've heard us talk, and you've seen me show this new Get Back on Board trade. We're calling it the Get Bob for short. You want to share with us a little bit about your experience with this new setup?
I like it so much. There have been times I've considered, especially when we have these choppy periods, of not getting involved in trades until there's a Get Bob, because we've had so much success with them that maybe you let the market pick a direction and then get back on board, just like the trade says. I personally use it where when we have our power of quitting our two trades, I consider the Get Bob part of the continued trade. So even if I hit two in a row, if I get a Get Bob, it's been so powerful that I just can't see letting that trade get away. And so I continue until we get stopped out of the Get Bob, and then I put an end to my day.
That's great. Yeah, I kind of do the same thing, and I actually use the Get Bob as a trade of opportunity if I see it on other charts and other markets too. I've grown so confident in it myself. Awesome. So what, if any, recommendations or suggestions would you like to make in general to those listening to this interview?
Do the work. I mean, that's the number one thing, and it is work. The trading is the fun part. It's the tedious back testing and all the chores the coaches will give you to do that makes it worth its while and makes the trading more, it becomes fun when you're winning. And when you learn how to get the percentages on your side and get the fear out of the trading, then you're going to do so much better. You just can't look at the system and say, well, everybody's having success for it, so it's just going to work for me. It's not going to work for you unless you work for it.
That's very well said, and I agree 100% with that. Are there any improvements or advancements that you would like to see with the SST?
It's a system that just works. So right now I'd say no. I mean, if anything, when I do my back testing on the pennants and the flags or support and resistance lines, if there's anything found there where we could say, it would be nice if these would pop up for us, then maybe down the road that would be something we could talk about. But for now, it's a matter of you using it correctly so it works correctly.
Interesting. And you know what, while you said that, I was just thinking, and maybe for your own research you might want to check this out, but I'm finding that with the pennants and the trend lines and the more traditional ways of looking at charting, I could see how that might work into actually using the SST with Renko bars.
Huh.
So you may want to give that a little consideration. You have to understand a Renko bar and the characteristics of trading with those bricks and the way the quotes actually are, land on the chart. But that might give you an interesting thing to research on your own. And just an idea just popped in my head.
I know during the December training that you did the once a year with all the Coach Em or Coach Will going over the Renko bars, I just didn't know enough about it at the time and was doing the options class and so many other things that I felt too overwhelmed to take on something else, but maybe that is something I need to look at.
It's a new thing, and I agree with you. It's different, and it's one of the projects that I kind of got on my back burner too, but I've been looking at some of those more traditional ways of charting with Renko and actually seeing some potential there. So that may develop into something, and it may give you something that you can kind of research on your own. So, Larry, let's wrap this up. I got one more question. I kind of know what the answer is, but I have to ask it anyway, and that is, would you recommend the SST to others?
I would, and I have. I recommend it to friends and family, so if I'd recommend it to friends and families, then, strangers should definitely take advantage of it too.
All right, thank you. That's great. I appreciate that, and I agree. I recommend it to everybody too. So, Larry, thank you so much for taking time out from your busy day. I really appreciate it, and hopefully the listeners to this interview will have found some value from your information as a real live trader using the SST every day. Any parting comments before I let you go?
Just look forward to the next training room because you learn more in there every day, and it's nice to have other people to trade with.
All right. Well, great, Larry. I appreciate that. Really great comments and some good advice there, too. And hopefully everyone will get some benefit from this. I hope you have a really great Easter weekend, and I look forward to seeing you Monday in the trade room.
Thanks. Look forward to seeing you, too.